Welcome everyone to the Phoenix Report. I am Jack Connor, and my guest today is here after a year ago. It was when we first had this guy on. Like I said, I had been a fan of him for years, so it was really exciting for me to talk to him. And I look back at where this guy was a year ago and where things are headed now, and it's just, man, it's what a difference a year makes. I gotta tell you. At the time, I thought, when we were talking to him, it sounded like he was kind of done with the music industry. It sounded like he was kind of ready to kind of retire and live a quiet life. But but sure enough, 18 Visions, the band that he got famous with, is back. They released a new record from Rise Records. It's called 18 in Roman numerals. And so far they have they've done a few shows together, and I think they have a few more plans. So without any further ado, I'll just welcome him back to the show. James Hart, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, thanks for doing this again. I know like I said, a lot can happen in 1 year in terms of I remember when we were talking last year, you had mentioned sort of off the record that there had been some talk with some of the guys. I think it was either Keith or Ken might have been the holdout, and I know now it's just you, Keith, and Trevor. But you guys have been you got together and you made a record, and how has everything been going with that so far?
It's been great, man. It's weird because the last time I talked to you, I think, I think Keith and I had just started talking about working on some new music, and we weren't sure what it was going to turn into, or how far it was going to go, or really what it was going to be like. But one thing led to another, and it just snowballed. And Ken was always the holdup in terms of, the band kind of getting back together and putting out an album, in the past. But as we got to writing and recording, we just felt more and more like it was an 18 Visions type thing.
For sure, man. And from what I understood, like, you guys, I mean, there had never been any bad blood, certainly from when you guys split up in 2007. You guys had all stayed friendly, at least, even if you didn't talk all the time. As I understood it, there was never any bad blood there.
No, never. You just kind of go, you kind of go your separate ways and, do your own thing in life. And, you're all in the same bus for a while on the same road, but then, it comes to a stop and then the road splits and, you all go in different directions. I did my thing for a while in Burn Halo.
Yeah.
Keith had a couple of bands, that he did. He didn't really tour with them.
But obviously Trevor had his other band, Never Enough, and a couple other things. And obviously I loved your work in Burn Halo and everything that happened with that band. Now was it you contacting Keith, or like who contacted who? Who was like the first to say like, hey, we should probably do something again?
Yeah, Keith, man, he hit me up one day. I was on my way to work, and I just got a random text message from him. We'd talked, here and there. I'd seen him around a bit, but never really about like music or working on anything, together again. And he just kind of approached me with, hey, I still have those songs that we were working on a while back. I wasn't working on anything musically, so I was super stoked to be able to work with him again. And it just kind of sent into 18 Visions from there.
That's interesting. Did you guys have like stuff that you were writing for what was going to be a follow-up to the 2006 record but just never happened?
Yeah, we had briefly discussed on two separate occasions getting the band back together. Once in 2010, and then I want to say, was it? It might have been, maybe it was 2012. I don't remember. It was a few years ago, and it never came, never came to happen either time, obviously. But Keith and I had started working on some music. He'd written a handful of songs. I had finished one of them with them. Had ideas for others, and just stuff that you stick on the shelf. And, he wanted to finish those, and it was never either of our intentions to have it be 18 Visions. It just, very innocent way just turned into, this big thing. Maybe 18 Visions again. It's great.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that you didn't necessarily wanted to put it in that particular box or necessarily force it on the rest of the band. Just kind of wanted to let it be what it was going to be, and now here we are 10 years later, and you guys have been able to do that, which is really cool. I noticed that obviously there's been a little bit of lineup change, obviously with with Mick passing away and you guys using bass tracks for the live shows, and I know Ken wasn't able to make it, and now you have a guy named Josh James on rhythm guitar. How has it been working with Josh? How did he come into the fold?
He's been awesome. Trevor brought him in, and we've known Josh for a long time, very just kind of vaguely, from touring back in the day with 18 Visions and playing shows with Evergreen Terrace. He was in that band, as well as Casey Jones. Joined Stick to Your Guns a few years ago, and has been playing with them. And we wanted somebody that was like-minded. We wanted a straight edge dude. We wanted somebody that's easygoing, could hang out with, that was going to work hard, and I think make the process for us easy. This first show and all these, I think we played like 17 songs. It's it's a tall order, even for us. I think there was 10 songs that I've played before, so trying to teach a guitar player 17 songs, that's a lot of work. So, being the guy that he is, the type of musician he is, he put a lot of work and time in on his own to get those songs ready. So it made the process for us a lot easier.
For sure. I always think anytime you bring someone new into a band, it helps if you don't even necessarily look at that person as replacing someone who came before, but more just like someone who's just who just kind of fits in. And it sounds like that's the case with Josh. It sounds like he's a guy you guys knew from OC, from the neighborhood, and it sounded like it kind of worked out well. So can't ask for much better than that.
Yeah, we were never looking to replace Ken straight up.
Right.
The offer was always there for him to play.
Sure.
And we tried to work it so he would be able to do the album release show with us, even though he didn't work on the album.
Right.
But schedule-wise, that dude is just never home, especially on the weekend. So it was never going to work out. And with all the time and effort that Josh had put in, we definitely wanted to lock him in and get a strong commitment from him moving forward with the other things that we want to do, the other shows that we want to play. So making him a member of the band, I think, was important for us.
Absolutely. Has Ken given any feedback on the album? Has he sort of given his blessing?
We weren't really looking for it.
Right. Okay.
I think when we had talked about doing it, and he said, "Hey, I just can't. I don't have the time. I'm not around, but I would love to hear, what you guys come up with." I think that's I think we kind of took that as hey, he's totally cool with it. There's going to be no issues. He's not going to, I'm sure maybe he's bummed about it a little bit, but talking to Ken a few years ago, even I asked him if he missed playing on stage, and he said no, he didn't really miss it at all, which is crazy to me, with how good of a drummer and guitar player that guy is, and how accomplished a songwriter he is. But we just kind of we wanted to do our own thing. We brought Ken into the studio when the album was done, played him the songs, and he said it was a lot heavier than he was expecting, which he thought was cool.
Yeah, for sure. It's just interesting how some guys can be like that, as far as even if they enjoy making music, maybe playing live isn't necessarily their thing. A couple years ago, my band and I worked with Brett Hessla as our producer, and he had been in Dark New Day and Creed and Virgos Merlot, and I remember asking him several times, I'm like, you don't miss playing live? He's like, nah, I kind of enjoy doing what I'm doing and kind of working and recording other bands. So it's you never know with some guys. You never know what they're going to be into. But I'm sure. But it's also interesting how you said the style of the album kind of took Ken by surprise. Was that like a conscious decision on like you and Keith's part that you wanted to go back to that original like metalcore style?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think I wanted to do heavy stuff, and Keith wanted to do heavy stuff, and really we just wanted it to be fun. Before it was even going to be 18 Visions, we just wanted to have fun writing music that we wanted to make, and I think it started to become this. When we started feeling it becoming 18 Visions again, the songs that we started writing, I think Keith took it more as more of an approach of like, what did we do best on every album, and what did we not do good? What did we what do we look back now and not like, or what would we do differently? And now's the opportunity to be able to do that. So we have such a diverse catalog of music that we can kind of take all these different elements and parts of the band from album to album and kind of recreate, that sound, with, obviously like our 2017 selves writing them, which I feel like we're a lot more accomplished musicians and writers at this point. So, a lot of the fluff is gone, and we're trimming that off of stuff that we've done in the past. Yeah, I think we were able to really put together a solid rock album together.
Absolutely. I mean, it was definitely, it certainly caught me off guard listening to it, I'll be honest, but it definitely made sense to me because that's certainly where you guys started. With certainly with certain songs like that, does your approach to writing lyrics or subject matter, does that, after revisiting this band 10 years later, does sort of life experience influence some of the lyrics you write as opposed to when you were in your teens and 20s?
Yeah, I think so. But really, what I try to do lyrically is just kind of get myself mentally involved in the music of the song, and what kind of feelings and emotions does the music itself bring to me, and then I try to start writing lyrically from there. And I got to go back and take like a little retrospective look at my life and some things that I didn't get to touch on because I wasn't writing music, or, just not having the opportunity to write about certain things. And musically, the album just felt so much darker that I kind of wanted to keep that dark aspect to the lyrics. But, I feel like the earlier stuff, the subject matter on the earlier stuff was a little more playful. It was less direct, maybe not quite as dark. Obviously, it started out super dark, but kind of started to shift, as the band grew. And I think a lot of our fans missed those darker lyrics with the newer albums. So yeah, just really, I mean, the lyrics are just kind of a product of the feelings and emotions I got from the music and, where it took me.
I imagine maybe some of that came from, certainly when we did our thing last year, you had told me about all the frustrations you guys had experienced with record labels and everything, and I'm sure in the back of your mind you must have felt like you really had something to prove with coming back and doing this.
Honestly, man, not really at all.
No?
That was like one of the things that we really emphasized, was that this was strictly for fun. We didn't want a ton of pressure on us, which is why when we knew we were gonna reform the band, we didn't throw it out there right away. We didn't go hunting down a label. We didn't, book this super long tour. I think we were sick and tired of all the expectations and the pressure that were put on us over the years, especially with the last album, that we definitely didn't want that coming back into the fold, which is why we kind of held off for a while with announcing the return of the band. And even after the band came back and we were talking about putting the album out ourselves, we were, initially reluctant to go with the record label just because of the pressure and expectations they might, they might put on for touring and album sales and all that stuff. So we were just really happy to be able to do it again and to put new music out and to have people excited about it.
Yeah, you guys were pretty cryptic about that release. I remember a bunch of like Instagram posts and little stuff, and I remember looking back, I was like, oh, that's a thing again. That's awesome. And sure enough, you guys kind of released it kind of under the radar, but I mean, you guys did put out some other stuff with it, like there's a video for "Live Again," which is probably my favorite song off the new record, which was a really cool. I understand that was like a pretty cool tribute to Mick. But yeah, so obviously you guys kind of brought it there under the radar, and I'm glad to hear that it came from a place of positivity. Weirdly enough, that you guys wanted to do it for fun, and it wasn't, even though it was dark necessarily, it was still from a good place, which is good to hear.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it really is how it all kind of came together. From the initial text Keith sent me to where we're at now and booking these shows, that we've got coming up. Yeah, I think when you're at our age and our stages in life where we've got families and careers at home, the last thing you want is to bring into your life like any stress or tension or pressure that wasn't there, especially when you're trying to do and create something that you love. When that starts to become stressful, it starts to suck the fun out of it. And, that's just something we really, really, we really tried to avoid all that. I mean,
Absolutely.
we were being stubborn about not having Rise put it out just because, what are they gonna want from us?
Exactly.
It's still gonna be fun. Like, are we gonna be asked to play 100 shows a year? All that other stuff.
Exactly, and you'd want it. You wanted to be around. You're obviously around the right people. You're around guys you've known for years, and that makes all the difference in the world. And the reasons behind you doing it, because I think that, yeah, I like I said, I definitely think making it from a good place is sort of beneficial for everyone, really. And isn't that supposed to be the point of music? Obviously to bring enjoyment to yourself and to the people listening to it. It just seems like a no-brainer.
Right. I think unfortunately people miss that sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things like, it's a fun job, but it is still a job. But in this case, it seems like a lot of those stresses aren't quite there, or at least not what they used to be, which is good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't look at it as a job anymore. I think, I think I started looking at it that way with the last album that we made back in 2006. I think it came out.
Yeah.
And I loved that album.
Me
I loved
too.
the work we put into it. But with the expectations from the label and the kind of uncertainty that we had when we put it out, and everything that was kind of not going the way that we wanted it to, so we had to work like extra hard to make it awesome. And it definitely did become this job where we were kind of checking in every day, kind of clocking in and clocking out, and it felt that way too with the last band, with Burn Halo, as well. Not right off the bat, but it moved that way. It was more of a job for me, I think, than anybody else, because I was, having to manage everything on the road, and all my bandmates and stuff.
For sure, that band was really your baby. I know that.
Yeah, and I don't know. For me, like, I already have one job. I don't want music. I don't want music to have to kind of take that role on as well.
No, I totally understand that. I think it sounds like you're doing it for the right reasons. It sounds like you guys are doing it not necessarily because you're trying to take another crack at fame and fortune or whatever. I mean, that would be nice, and I think you guys do deserve all those things, but it sounds like you guys are doing it for the love of the game, man. It sounds like you guys are really doing it for the right reasons. And I am curious about this. You said you already played a show, sort of the CD release show. what was that set list looking like? You know, did you lean a little bit more on the earlier material, or did you incorporate stuff from Obsession and the '06 record, or was it like sort of a good mixture of everything?
Yeah, I mean, it was a mixture of everything. We definitely leaned a little heavier on the older stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's my one regret with the band, was the last two shows that we played were very Obsession and self-titled heavy, and we didn't really play much off the old albums. And
Right.
if I could go back in time, I would change that.
Well, I almost feel like you guys became a different band at that point, even with the same name. Which, I mean, I understand that because I love those two albums. I definitely lean a little bit more toward that sensibility and the music I listen to. But I certainly understand that wanting to give service to those original albums as well.
Yeah. So I mean, it obviously when we broke up, the set list was a product of what we were doing at the time for sure. Fast forward 10 years and, we're playing two songs off of, the very first full length we ever put out, which I think was only 2000 pressed. Played four songs up until the ink runs out. I think we played two off Vanity, two off Obsession, and two off the self-titled, along with like three new ones. So yeah, and it was kind of eye-opening to see the responses for all, from song to song. And, the self-titled songs that we played, Victim, Black and Bruised, those were like a nice vocal break for me. But they didn't go as crazy as the older stuff. The older stuff was just the older stuff, and the stuff off the new album that we played just were leaps and bounds, just in a whole different world, I think.
Right. Well, I mean, I imagine a lot of your fan base was like there from the early days, so they probably really loved that more hardcore sound. So I definitely understand that. So
and I think
how was it?
Too, we want to go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, how was your voice holding up to switch back to that singing in that style after years of not really doing it as much? How was that?
Good. Definitely a stronger singer now than I was 10 years ago. So, definitely I feel like I figured it out, to where, I'm not hurting myself. It's definitely different though, jamming in a rehearsal room than getting up on stage and running around and trying to sing. It's, it's definitely a whole different ball game. So that was tougher. That definitely, 17 songs, whether it's screaming and singing, definitely presents a different challenge for sure.
I can just imagine being up there and be like, guys, can we just play Victim? My voice needs a break for this one.
Dude, and honestly, that's one of the tougher songs in the set for me to sing.
Oh, is it? Yeah, no, yeah. Now that I think about it, yeah, I guess it would be. So it's a lot going on in that tune. Now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Was it was it strange or like bittersweet getting up there as 18 Visions and not having Mick be there?
No, because I think we had moved past that when we started rehearsing. That we had somebody else in there playing guitar with us. We were running bass tracks. Maybe it was a little funny at first, but I think being up on stage, I think we had, I don't think it like took a real toll. I mean, it didn't take a real toll on me. We obviously had a nice tribute for him on stage, which was great, for us and for the fans. But, it wasn't something that was going through my mind before we walked on stage, while we were on stage, or, while we walked off stage, once the show's done. It didn't really, hit me a ton, because I think we knew what we wanted to do. I think, we kind of paid the tribute to him in the Oath video. And, we had the song on the album Live Again about him. And I think during that song as well, I think I picked up his bass guitar and kind of like, showed it to the crowd or whatever. It's just those cool little tributes. So I think during that song, maybe it was a little bit more emotionally touching for me, but otherwise,
you're just you're in the moment.
Yeah, you're in the moment. You're playing a sold out show. It's already way bigger than you had anticipated. So there's so many different like emotions and excitements going on at once.
Oh, I'm sure. Were a lot of the shows that you did play, a lot of them sort of in the Orange County area, or because I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly where they were, but I think you did have one sort of in your neighborhood.
Yeah, just the one show so far is all we've done.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was in Orange County, a venue we've never played before. One of the bigger venues around here, but it was that we talked about doing Chain Reaction, which is kind of where we grew up playing. It only holds 400 versus 1,000 plus, so we just the 400 shows obviously very safe for us. We were kind of pushed in the direction by the manager to play the big room. So we went that route, and it was a little scary for us. I think we only had tickets on sale for a month or less. But in the end, it worked out for us. It was great.
That's great. I mean, it sounds like you had a good reception. Probably a lot of people who were maybe there in some of your early days. I'm sure you recognized a few people or around.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. It was a lot of old fans from, pre-Obsession, maybe even pre-Vanity, and a lot of, a fair amount of people that got into the band after we broke up that never really got a chance to see us. And then there's a lot of people that traveled for the show too, from out of state, out of country.
Oh, wow.
That's super cool.
That's amazing. I mean, that must have been a really cool just feeling, almost like a big family reunion.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely, especially after the show when, you get to see all your friends and hang out and kind of talk about, the show and everything. And yeah, it's definitely a cool feeling.
Definitely like that, and almost like kind of closing up some unfinished business. You had the new record, you had this really big homecoming show. What's next for 18 Visions?
We've got a couple of shows lined up in Dallas and Houston. Mm-hmm. We've got a weekend with Stick to Your Guns in mid-October. I think we're doing Toronto, Montreal, and Long Island, New York.
Nice.
We're doing main stage Ozfest, or Not Fest.
Oh, wow.
Out here in California. Yeah, going to the UK for a week, mid-November. Playing 3 shows out there, which is great. We're really looking forward to getting back out there. And then we've got 3 shows we have announced on the East Coast for December. Nice. So, yeah.
Very cool, very cool. Hopefully, if you ever get any Florida shows in the books, I'll definitely have to try and catch those. But
awesome. Yeah, I'm sure that's something that I want to do. So everything for us right now unfortunately involves like having to fly out. So, right. We've got to make sure that we can cover all of our costs and expenses, flights, travel, lodging, gear rental, all that stuff. So we're not really opposed to playing anywhere. Just depends on what kind of offers come in and if promoters want to bring us around.
Absolutely. I did read in an interview that Keith said that full-time touring isn't necessarily an option for you guys right now. Obviously, you guys all have families and jobs and so on and so forth. But it is cool that you guys are still finding ways to to make it happen, to get yourselves out there. It's a great thing, man. It's and especially considering where you were a year ago. I mean, I remember you sounded a little disappointed with everything. Well, not necessarily. I would say you kind of come to peace with it, but it sounded like you were done. And I'm happy to see that you're out there doing it again and having fun.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I was super done and super okay with it. I think the first time I thought about, leaving Burn Halo back in 2012, I think it was. Maybe it was even before that. I think it was 2012. I thought about leaving the band, and I talked to the guys about it, and it just wasn't. I felt like it wasn't in the cards for me, and trying to come to grips with that decision was tough. I remember having a conversation with Keith while I was out on tour with the band, and I was like, "Hey, man, like, what did you do? How did you cope? I'm thinking about making this decision. I still have a month of tour dates left. At what point were you okay with not touring or maybe not being involved with playing like live music again?" So it was tough on me. I think the first time that I really sat down and thought about it.
Do you remember what Keith said when you asked him that?
Yeah, I think he just was ready. He was just ready to not tour, ready to have a normal life.
I guess sometimes you just know.
Yeah, he missed everything about a normal life that, you kind of sacrifice for being out on the road. For me, it was a little bit different. I didn't have like a career to just like step into. It was me like really venturing into the unknown. When 18 Visions broke up, I think he kind of just like fell into a line of work, doing graphic design work. It was simple for him, and we had tour dates lined up, and we ended up canceling the tour and breaking up. So he was able to kind of get settled where I was looking at more of I was looking at much more uncertainty with my life, stepping away from touring full time. So it was scary for me. And then I think because I wasn't fully ready to let go, I ended up kind of getting sucked back into doing another album and playing a few more shows with the band. And when the band finally got out to be out on the road, I realized for sure I was just over it. I didn't want to do it anymore.
This was Burn Halo you're talking about?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Which I gotta say it is a shame because I really loved that band, and I definitely miss hearing you sing that style of music as well. I don't know if there's any chance of 18 Visions kind of going in that melodic direction again, but I am glad to see that you guys are at least doing your thing again, even if there isn't any Burn Halo at the moment.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, that I can guarantee I won't have anything to do with it if they decide that they want to keep doing shows or whatever. It's just not. It just requires way too much attention and effort and work for what I have to give. As far as 18V going in that direction, I think, the melodies that are on the new album is probably about the most that I think, a listener would get, moving forward. Yeah. On anything new that we would put out. I love singing for sure. I do, but I love the intensity and the aggression that the heavier stuff brings, for sure.
Gotcha. Well, hey, that's an honest answer. I appreciate that, and ultimately, you got to do what makes you happy. So, if you're not making yourself happy, then there's no point in it. So, there's really nothing more you can say about that. I will definitely be paying attention to what you guys do, no matter what. And where can people find 18 Visions online?
Yeah, so we have 18vofficial.com is our website.
This is the number 18, right?
Yeah, 18vofficial.com. There's merch links there, ticket links, I think YouTube links for videos. And then we're, also on Instagram, which is 18V_official, and the same thing for Twitter as well.
Well, there you go, man. everyone who's listening, definitely check out 18 Visions. Check out all of their stuff, because if you're a fan of the more hardcore stuff, you'll probably like the new record and some of their older stuff. If you're more of a straight up rock fan, you'll definitely love the albums Obsession and their self-titled record from '06. So it's like there's a little something in there for everyone, I think, for all kinds of rock and metal fans. James, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming back and doing this again, and definitely all the best.
Awesome, thank you.
Huge thanks once again to James Hart of 18 Visions and formerly of Burn Halo for coming back to the show and bringing us up to speed on what he has been up to and how this whole reunion came about. I would encourage all of you to check out an appearance that he made on another podcast, which happened a few weeks before I did this one. The name of that show is called Lead Singer Syndrome with Shane Told. It's on iTunes and everywhere podcasts are. And this had happened before I'd got to have him on my show. And hindsight, I wish I kind of listened to that a little bit more before I did that, because James really goes into really great detail, even greater than what you hear on this show, about the events that led to his exit from Burn Halo, and about how 18 Visions reformed, and some of the more interesting details about how that came about. And granted, he gave me a lot of great stuff in this one, but there were a few things that I heard in there that I was previously unaware of, that he'd kind of touched on in this show, but went into a little greater detail about how 18 Visions had talked about reuniting as early as 2010, about how James wanted to leave Burn Halo as early as 2012, and how he had negotiated sort of his role in what would be their final album, which was called Wolves of War. And basically it leaves me with a few final thoughts regarding this podcast. The direction of James Hart's career has occasionally taken me by surprise as a fan, but hindsight being what it isn't really hard to see all the signs being there. For as much as I loved Burn Halo, there had always seemed to be like a really high turnover rate when it came to band members leaving, and as I had suspected, a lot of that had to do with the demands of touring and other business-related factors. Maybe the money wasn't there to keep all these guys around. I don't really know. I can't really speak for those guys, but it seems, based on what I've heard from James, that was sort of the case. And that's not a knock on them. It's just, that's the reality of the situation sometimes. Secondly, the stylistic shift that James has made back to 18 Visions is more hardcore slash metalcore slash whatever you want to call it roots. That was apparent as early as Burn Halo's final album, Wolves of War. You could hear on a lot of songs on that record that there was a lot more of that hardcore metalcore influence in his vocals and in some of the riffs. And I will just say this: whether or not that style is your cup of tea, whether or not that's your preference, the fact of the matter is that James is making the kind of music that he wants to make right now. James, along with Keith and Trevor, they made the kind of record that they wanted. They're doing what makes them happy, and you know what? I cannot fault him for that. And I know there are a lot of people who are going to like what he's doing right now. So I wish him and 18 Visions all the success in the world. I really hope it works out for them. And, if they come through Orlando, where I live, I'm going to go see him. So, finally, one of the biggest things to take away from all this is that the music business is just that. It is a business. And with that being in mind, I'm curious to see how this 18 Visions mini tour is going to work out for them. This idea of doing weekend gigs or sort of smaller runs where they fly out to particular regions, it is not an uncommon practice for many bands that have been around for a while. Based on, interviews I've heard over the years, there are many veteran bands out there, bands that have had various degrees of success over the years, who do this sort of thing. They'll do gigs on the weekends and fly in and out of wherever it is they're booked, and a lot of these guys have day jobs that they keep during the week. I have heard stories about this being the case for many guys in bands over the years who have had varying degrees of success and notoriety and past accolades, and guys who have made money over the years. Whether or not they saved it, I don't know. It's not really for me to say. But I have said this in my previous interview with James, and I will say it again. Just because you get a record deal, or if your band has a song on the radio, or you've been on TV, or if you've even been on some big tours, that does not necessarily mean that all the guys in these bands are multimillionaires who are set for life. That's just the reality of the situation. So if you're a young guy in a band getting into this, just be aware that not everything that glitters is gold, and that these guys work so much harder than you can possibly imagine to keep afloat. So with that in mind, I am so grateful for James for taking the time to talk to me and to let us know what's going on with 18 Visions, and I wish those guys nothing but the best. As far as some upcoming events for me, my band Vertebraker has been a little bit. We're taking a little bit of a break from playing shows right now because we're working on our record, which we've been working on for the longest time. I swear we are going to finish this thing and put this out soon, within a few months. I don't know how long it's going to be. It's I don't want to make too many promises just yet, but just suffice to say that it is being worked on. And that's what we're focused on now, along with writing new songs, because the songs on this record are songs that we've been playing for a while, so we want to kind of freshen up our set list as well. So with that being said, I do have a few acoustic gigs that I'm doing on my own. Starting on Thursday, October 12th, I will be at a place called a Petrified Forest in Altamont Springs, which is just north of Orlando. The band and I have actually played there last year. We played 2 shows there. It is a really cool haunted house attraction, and a lot of really cool events that go on there, and there's an outside stage. So if you want to go in the haunted house and listen to some music, I will be out there along with my friend Billy Floyd, who's a really great singer-songwriter as well. I definitely want to have him on the show one of these days. So that will be going on this week, or I should say the week that I am recording this. Also this week will be on Saturday, October 14th. I will be at the Shovelhead Lounge. Myself and a lot of other acoustic artists and bands will be doing an event called Rock for the Troops. It is to benefit PTSD survivors and their families. It is a really cool fundraiser. Not only will I be playing an acoustic set there, I will also be sort of DJing and emceeing part of the event, kind of hosting a few contests. So I will be there as early as 12 noon on Saturday the 14th. So I will be there all afternoon. Come say hi. Come hang out for a little bit. I'll be playing, and I would really love to see you there. And I will also have another acoustic gig on Thursday, October 19th at Bombshells Tavern. I will be there. It'll just be me. I'll be there for a few hours, mainly doing some covers, but I will probably throw in a few originals there. We'll see. But that'll be a lot of fun. And finally, even though I did say that we were taking a little bit of a break from playing shows, Vertebraker is actually playing a show this month. October of 2017, we'll be playing, I should say Saturday, October 21st, at Strokers Billiards in Edgewater, which is just outside of Daytona. We will be part of a weekend-long event called Motor Mayhem, which is part of the Biketoberfest, all the festivities going on down there in Daytona, which they have every year. Motor Mayhem will be another sort of mini festival going on there, and we will be there on Saturday the 21st. We will be there along with Shallow Side, Apollo Electric, A Fine Line, and our good friends Breathing Theory. I've had Dave and Colin from Breathing Theory on my show many times. They're a great band. Every time their band and my band gets together and plays, it's a really special thing, because they're a fantastic group and a really great group of guys as well. So we always have a great time. If you're in the Daytona area, I highly encourage you to come out. And finally, I'm really excited about this. In February of next year, February of 2018, I have been booked, on an acoustic gig at Winfield's in Satellite Beach. I will be there along with Dominic St. Charles of Earn and Justin Tiberius Weir of 21 to Burn, opening up for John Corabi, who many people know as the former lead singer of Motley Crue and the former guitar player for Rat for many years. He is currently in a band called the Dead Daisies. Really, this guy is, really a legendary vocalist and has been in the business for a long time. The guy has, he's played all over the world, played with some of the biggest names in the industry. This is a dream come true for me to share the stage with John Corabi, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I can get him on the podcast. So definitely come out for that. That'll be February 16th, 2018, in Satellite Beach, which is just outside of Melbourne. I will be there opening for John Corabi. So come and check that out. Thank you once again for listening. As always, feel free to follow me on Twitter at jackxconnor. Like me on Facebook at facebook.com/jackconnormusic. Feel free to check out my band Vertebreaker at facebook.com/vertebreakerband. I will have links in the description if you're not sure how to spell it, don't worry. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, make sure you email me at jackconnorpodcast@gmail.com or, tweet me with the hashtag Phoenix Report. Leave a comment, subscribe. Go back to listen to all the other episodes, especially if you haven't heard my show before and you're here because of James Hart. Feel free to go and listen to some of my other episodes. You might not know everybody, but hopefully you'll be entertained anyway. We also have movie reviews, pro wrestling reviews, a lot of different stuff on the show. I'm really glad you decided to check out this little podcast of mine, and be sure to tell your friends if you enjoy it. So thank you guys for listening. This has been the Phoenix Report. I am Jack Connor. We'll see you later. Bye.